What's going on, DJBooth.net? This is your boy DJ Blaze, and I'm kicking it in the lab to bring you a full video review of the Denon DN-MC6000 Digital DJ controller. And this one is brought to you in conjunction with our DJ equipment partners, American Musical Supply. You can hit them up at www.americanmusical.com, and they can come through for you for all your DJ equipment needs. So, this one was really hard to come by. It's hard to get in contact with Denon to get a review unit. So the next best thing, we hit those guys up and they were able to send us off the unit very nice and swiftly. And big shout out to you guys over there at American Musical Supply. So check out the video. We'll start off with the overall impressions and setup section of the review. And basically the overall impressions that I have of the Denon DN-MC6000 are very good. This is an excellent DJ controller. It's built really solid. It's all steel construction. It's a complete and compact system. I like the size of this compact system. I can actually throw this in a bag and still it's not so tight to where I can't control all the controls that I need to. I heard some people say that it was a little too mushed in for them, but once you understand what everything does and how everything is controlled, the layout is very intuitive, it's very easy to use, and it's very easy to catch on to. As you can see, I have the deck saver for the Tractor Control S4, and the S4 is quite a bit bigger in almost every dimension when it comes to comparison with the MC6000. But there are some things that the S4 can do that this cannot do, and vice versa. The MC6000 also has functions that the S4 cannot do. But moving along, it's a complete compact system, and I'm just blown away by the build quality that Denon has been exhibiting over the past 10 years or so, and this new MIDI controller definitely follows suit. The setup was fairly simple. It comes with Virtual DJ in North America, and in Europe you get the Tractor LE version. But if you're going to get a nice controller like this, you're going to probably want to upgrade to a better software system. So I'm using Tractor Scratch Pro 2, and the mapping and everything is very easy. If you go to the Denon website, you can get the new mapping for Tractor 2, and where you can take full advantage of the sample deck features, your 4 decks of control, your cue functions, your FX, everything lines up very, very nicely to Tractor Pro 2, which is a big plus. Well, setup was very easy. Once again, all you got to do is plug your USB cable in, you plug in your outputs, and then you put your CD in, and the drivers and everything installed. Very simple. Alright, next up we have the inputs and outputs. On the left you see the DC power input, power on-off switch. You have the PC USB input. You also have a PC or Mac switch, depending on whether you're using a PC or a Mac. You have mixing mode, which is either internal mixing mode or PC mixing mode. You have output source switch here. We have a balanced booth output. And we have also a balanced master XLR output. Very nice. It's very good to see, controllers with a bunch of outputs and inputs on them. We also have a master output unbalanced RCA. We have a record RCA output. We have 2 auxiliary inputs. And then we have a line 1 and 2 RCA input that also have a switch, so you can either use phono or line, along with your phono ground post here for your grounds. And there's also 2 microphone inputs, 1 XLR and 1 1/4 inch. And on the front you will see that the microphones have their own dedicated EQs, high, mid, and low, and also an echo effect. You got your headphone 1/4 inch jack in the front. And when you're in your software, you can also use your microphone section up here to control your levels and effects. Okay, next we'll speak about the mixing console portion of the Denon DN-MC6000. And just right off the top, the first thing you're thinking about when you're thinking mixing consoles is the faders. And this is an excellent crossfader. Not exactly sure what type it's in there, but it feels a lot like their higher end crossfader offerings that are in the Denon lineup today. It's very smooth, and it's nice and loose. So I mean, some people may or may not like that, but I like the looseness of it. But it feels like it's going to last a while, and it works with very little resistance. The line faders, however, do have a bit more resistance to them. They feel great, nice for fading and bringing in your next track or your next deck. No complaints there. They're built like they're going to last as well. Next up, we have the knobs. All the knobs on the MC6000 are very solid. They all have like a center click, so you know where you're at within the parameters without necessarily having to see them. And even though it looks pretty tight in here from maybe where you're at, but it does not feel like I'm ever in the way of myself when I'm trying to go through and select different EQs for the tracks or the decks. EQs have full kill capability, no buttons for kill, but you know, you turn it all the way down and it will full kill. You got low, mid, and high for each of your 4 decks, along with a gain control knob. And also above that, you have the selectable line or MIDI switch. Every channel can either be selected to be the line input or the MIDI. And this comes in handy when you want to set up something like the Audio 4 sitting over there in order to play your time code through it. So you can have your 4 decks of control right at your fingertips, along with either 2 vinyl decks or 2 CDJs with time code control, or however flavor you want to mix it up. So these switches up here allow you to adjust whether the deck is going to be controlled through the MIDI software or through the line input on the back. So you can do a combination of throughputs and software. It's a very versatile system because of this feature. Next up, we have the LEDs. Now some people like to have all 4 decks of LEDs showing when they're playing their music or their tracks, because you know, you just want to see at a glance what your levels are. But they have 2 LEDs here, and they can either be set to master, channel 1 and 4, or channel 2 and 3. So you set it how you want to set it to view the track. So you can see all the tracks, but you just can't see them all at the same time. Next up, we have the Q section. The Q section is over here. We basically have a volume control knob and then a Q or master pan knob. So you know, you can adjust the level of either you want to hear what's the master or what you're trying to cue via the Q buttons here per each deck. You press the Q button, they'll light up, and that way you'll know that you're in the queue for that track or that deck. They also have the split queue function here, which you can press, that will let one of your headphones play the actual master while your other headphone, your other earphone, is playing, you know, the track that you're trying to cue. We have booth and master section over here. This is the big oversized master volume knob like that. And then the booth send over here section, you actually have a volume knob, a high, a low, so you can adjust, you know, your booth area according to, you know, the speakers or the setup that you have there, or what you want to hear more of within the mix. And we also have another selected knob. So say you have your booth set up and maybe you only want to hear what's coming out of channel 1. You can just hear only what's coming out of your channel 1, channel 2, channel 3 or 4, or you can just go for master. Very cool feature with the booth send output. Next up, we have the crossfader controls on the front and the microphone controls. So on the front of the mixer, the crossfader, we have the contour knob here, so you can adjust the slope or the contour of the fader. And we also have switches here, so whether you can select channel 1, 2, 3, or 4 to be on the A side of the fader or on the B side of the fader, or in through mode where the fader doesn't even matter. We also have the microphone section on the front. Again, I told you this earlier, the echo controls. We have the high, mid, and low EQ for each of the 2 mic inputs found on the back. Alright, next up we're going to talk about the decks. And decks are going to be deck A and C and deck B and D over here. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the jog wheels, because that's the first thing everybody wants to know when they're talking about these MIDI controllers. And the jog wheels found on the Denon DN-MC6000 are very solid. I mean, they have no wobbles in them, no shakes, very solid. They don't have the press top or the click top like some of the other controllers out there, like the S4 and a few of the others out there. This is a real touch sensitive, pressure touch sensitive jog wheel, and you know, everything works just as it should. One-to-one operation. It takes a little getting used to because that is a very small jog wheel. You know, it's a nice compact size, so the jog wheels are a little smaller, which takes a little bit of getting used to, but no reason you can't do anything on these jog wheels that you're able to do on your other jog wheels. Next up is the cue, play, pause, and sync buttons. Everything here just as you want them, just as in the software. There's a master sync, which is the same that is in the Traktor software, so you can set one of these as master and the other one to sync. Also, you have your pitch bend buttons here, and you have your vinyl bend button, which is a fancy way of saying fast forward or rewind anywhere within the track. Also, we have the tempo sliders for each deck. Tempo sliders here, nice and firm, very steady, and nice so you can get your finer points in there. And the limitations on your pitch slider are just whatever is in your software. Each deck also has its own set of cue banks. Cue banks here, Q1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 on both sides. Easy to set, easy to do. And each deck also has an FX bank above it that you can assign to either deck. And they also have a deck change button. It's blue when you're in your first deck, which on this side is deck A. And we also have sample decks set up in here. So in order to get to your sample decks, which is deck C and D, you press that button there, and now your sample decks are active. Now this acts as your sample deck. In order to get back to your regular track deck, you press it to blue. But within the software, you can have 4 track decks, and it doesn't have to be sample decks. I just kind of like playing with those because it's a neat feature. So all your functionality within Traktor 2 is here. Just as in the S4, you just have to press shift in sometimes, and you have to press a sample key or two sometimes in order to change into your deck. Unlike the S4, which has everything readily available, but again, you have a nice compact size here. They could have easily added on an extra 2 inches to be as big as the S4 in order to, you know, accommodate for those sample decks, but I'm fine with pressing the buttons. It's not a big deal there. Okay, just to dive a little deeper into the hot cue and loop section, we'll do a little hot cue in here. Rewind the track to the beginning. Real easy to set the hot cues, and real easy to delete them. Just press shift and cue, you're gone. And they're all gone. Now we also have the sample decks, and the sample decks is you have to change the deck in order to activate it. So play it, press the sample key, record your sample. In order to play it, you got to switch over to your deck. Now you got your sample deck. That's your sample deck down here playing. You also have your loop functions. You grow your loop shrink your loops. Next up, we have the effects section and the file navigation. So just as in Tractor 2, you guys have your 3 effects. Well, you actually have 4 effect knobs up here, and they correspond to the wet and dry knob in the FX bank, or the 3 effects that you have selected. Right now I have delay, reverb, and flanger, and on this side on FX bank 2 I have the delay, beat masher, and filter set up to these knobs here, and they're very easy to see because it's just like the Tractor software, so it's no confusion there. In order to turn your effects on, you have a lighted LED button here for each effect that you have activated, and then for each deck you have an FX1 or FX2 light that you can press here, and that will determine whether or not you're playing that FX on that deck. And the file navigation section we have here in the middle of the deck, and you have your forward, backward, you can go up and down through your tracks, scroll through whatever you want to select. You can load into deck A or load into deck B. Very easy to use. You don't really need a keyboard. All I need is usually my mouse, because I'm a mouse guy, but you don't really need your mouse. You can just use everything through here. All the buttons are functional, and they all work within the software. In conclusion, the Denon DN-MC6000 is one of my favorite MIDI controllers to come out today. You know, it's built very solid. I love this Denon product. It's a good MIDI controller. It can do most of the things that the S4 can do, and plus a little bit more. It has all these inputs and outputs. Great for clubs, even great for parties, for bedroom DJs. It's recommended basically from anyone down the range because it's just so versatile and there's so much you can do with it. It's very compact. It's solid steel construction. It can work as a standalone mixer with software, or with software and a sound card such as the Audio 4, so that you can use your external timecode decks as well. They have great jog wheels. The jog wheels are solid. They're one-to-one operation. A little small, but they're still good. Great fader feel. Faders feel nice. They'll be able to do all your scratching, all your crabs, and everything you want to do on there. And it just has excellent mapping with the Tractor Scratch Pro 2 software. So it'll bring you into that next generation that, you know, that Tractor has put out for DJs now. And the mapping is excellent. It all matches right up, and with very little effort to set up. All you need is the right TSI file, which can be found at the Denon DJ website. So on the con side, I kind of wish, even though the fader is solid, I still wish it could have been user replaceable. It would have been nice to be able to pop a Inno fader or something else in there, you know, but I'm not feeling brave enough, so I'm not even going to attempt to try to open it up to see what will fit in there. Next up, you cannot use the internal sound card for external timecode decks. You must have an external device or sound card in order to do this. On the S4, as you guys seen in my previous video, you can just plug your deck straight into the S4, your analog, vinyl, or CD decks, and it will just work. It just will automatically play as your 2 new decks there. But with this system, in order to use external or timecode decks, you do need another sound card. And my last minor gripe with the unit was the small jog wheels. You know, even though they're solid and they work very nicely, they're a little small, and it takes a little time to get used to, especially if you're used to vinyl or a vinyl feel like myself. So overall though, very good unit, The cost is right. I think you could find these for about $700 now if you look hard enough. Full warranty. That'll give you a little extra money to play with so that you can get your Traktor software together. So that way you'll have the full functionality of the unit. It comes with virtual DJ in the United States and in North America. Over in the UK and Europe, you get Traktor LE. But both of those are just okay, in my opinion. I think you really want to get the Traktor Scratch Pro 2 or even the big boy Serato, and that way it will line up a little bit better for you. This is a very good controller, one of my personal favorites. It comes highly recommended. I recommend it from anywhere from professionals all the way down to beginners. It's a good controller, built solid, built to last. You won't be disappointed. And one more time, I want to give a big shout out to American Musical Supply. They are our partner DJ equipment company, and they just came through for us this time when it was kind of hard to find one of these things for review. So big ups to my guys over there. Take it easy. We're gonna keep doing these review videos. We got a lot more coming. I'm working like a madman right now, but we're gonna get the whole MIDI controller market locked down and make sure that we give you guys everything that you guys need to make a good decision when you go out there to make your purchase.